There's no doubt that Florida State football recruiting has done an excellent job coming off a 2-10. It's a season nobody wants, but the Seminoles are on the brink of the regular season inside the top 15 of the Rivals industry rankings. Not bad considering what they put on the field last year. Michael Langston is here to talk to me about how does Florida State get another surge? Is it possible for Florida State to surge up higher in the rankings? And Michael, I'll ask you this question. If Florida State is to, let's say, climb into the top 10 at the end of the cycle, so it's December, we're done. Florida State's in the top 10. Would they have to beat Alabama to get there, or is there more to it?
There's probably more to it, Tom, but I think that's the easiest path. Because if you win that Alabama game, me and Matt are going to be very busy, and that's a good thing. We're going to be very busy with recruits, and the confidence and surge is going to be there to kind of start with the season. Now, if you played a close game and you lost to them, let's say you lost, but then you won the next 4 games and you start like 4-1, you can overcome that because you do have some big games later. You have Clemson, you certainly have Florida that you can get that surge. But I think the easiest path, and why I've really highlighted this Alabama game, because it's like very few people give them a chance. Like, we know that from a national perspective. A lot of people think Alabama's talented. Alabama doesn't. Florida State had a 2-10 season. That's what they are until FSU plays the game. They're 2-10. That's what they are. So I think a lot of people are kind of skeptical. Now the FSU commits and other recruits, they don't feel that same way. They feel like, hey, this is a different thing. And so it kind of also puts an exclamation point on what you've sold and pitched to the recruits. When if you go out there and say you pull an upset, maybe beat them by 3 points or something, that solidifies to recruits like, yeah, this is different. They made the changes. They made the difference. We see the difference. The relationships are different. Their aggressiveness is different, how they recruit us. And the product on the field is much, much better. And I think, too, it makes it much easier to put out there when everyone asks us, like, hey, how many wins are you going to get? You feel pretty good about that 8-9 mark if you get that. If you get that, you feel pretty good, like, hey, they can do it. And it builds excitement to those other games when you play Miami and then you play at Clemson, where you're going to have a lot more national pub, and 2, recruits are going to want to come see you when you play these teams at home, like Miami, or even late in the season. It doesn't matter who you play, they're just going to want to go. It's going to be a main attraction. So if you win that Alabama game, I think it just creates massive just opportunities across the board, and it changes the national perception. And believe it or not, I don't care what recruits say. They do listen to kind of what people are saying. Some blow it off and say, hey, whatever. But some are like, hey, FSU, I need to go see that school. I need to go check them out. And the kids that are committed to them, it makes them recruit even harder, those guys, to join in the class. I did a story on some of the top recruiters. That's something that's really helped FSU, of just commits that are in the class that are really pushing help. But it helps them push the narrative harder when you win a game like that, especially against Alabama. Because a lot of these kids, they were considering Alabama, or they still are considering, or they're committed to them, and they might not be if you go out there and you show the product, and they might just be waiting for FSU to show them something, give them a reason to either go to FSU or get FSU much more involved in the recruitment than they previously had.
So, yeah, let me ask somewhere in the middle there, because if these kids are living in SEC country, or they're just listening to SEC talking heads, radio, television, whatever it is, the talk for this game is that, yes, Florida State is a broken program.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of changes. Alabama and Alabama by a lot in this first game. Let's say that the result is somewhere in the middle. Florida State doesn't come away with a win, but they go toe-to-toe with Bama. It's a good game for 60 minutes, and you can see that 2025 isn't 2024, that there's a big difference on the field. Do recruits care, or do they only care about the result? Because these are young kids. Like, do they just care about a win as a win, or will they look deeper into how the game was played as they start to decide whether or not Florida State's really a contender or not?
I think it'll move it some. I think it'll make a solid impact, but it also puts more pressure on FSU to deliver in that Miami game. Like then that becomes a now if you ask me, that becomes a must win. You need to win that game. If you don't win the Alabama game, you have to win that Miami game. Should probably be over around 100 recruits on campus. Let's say you perform well against Alabama. Say you lose a close one by 4 or something, but they were head to toe. It was back and forth and they lost it in the fourth quarter, didn't win. But then you come back and you beat Miami. It shows the growth again. But there comes a point where one of these games has to be a must win. Like you have to me, have to win one of those games to show your product because the other two games after Alabama are pretty easy, I think, contests. And then you have some other games that I think they're gains, but they're not going to really move the needle. I think at Virginia and then a few others until you get to that Clemson game. So there has to be a moment where recruits look at it and say, "Hey, I can grasp on to whether you beat Alabama or you beat Miami." But it has to be one of those to me when the recruits to really take that surge to another level.
We're talking with the idea that Florida State is trying to surge and get higher into the rankings to a top 10 class. That's a difficulty here, too, Michael. I mean, the schedule isn't laid out horribly if you're just talking about the sequence of opponents. But if you're looking at it from a recruiting perspective, two of the best bullets in the chamber for Florida State happened before the second week of October. So
Yeah.
they kind of have to make a statement like you're talking about in one of these first two home games because the home slate after that is not exciting. It includes Pitt and Wake and Virginia Tech. It doesn't have the same juice as two of the first four home games.
Yeah, you have to have something that moves the needle. And I think to really, if you're talking about maybe a little higher than top 10, win one of those games you're not supposed to. Win at Clemson or win at Florida. Those are games that are going to move the needle. Like if you go the other teams on the schedule, to me, Tom, it's not going to move it nationally with recruits because even if you win at NC State or these other places or wherever you're playing, it's not going to move. You beat Clemson, you surprise somebody and beat Clemson on the road, or you beat Florida on the road. That's definitely going to move the needle. So I think the first step to your point, yes, that's a must win that you have to win one of these first two games or in that 4 game slate that you have to win that game to really establish yourself of okay, now we see what this team is. It's not what it was last year. They played well against Alabama, came in there, and if they were able to pull a win over Miami, and then it's like okay, they have something we can grasp onto. We can build around this. And if you're doing those things and say you go 1-1, recruits are going to look at it like they just need me. I see the growth and I see how I would fit into that. This looks like an 8 or 9 win team if they're doing that. Mm-hmm. So I think and the growth of their position is certainly going to stand out if you're winning those games. So I think really one of those two early major games is just a massive thing that they certainly have to do. And good news for them is both of them are at home.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now, third and final scenario I'll give you. This isn't an ideal one, but let's say Florida State goes 8-4. They're competitive in the 4 games that would move the needle. Bama, Miami, Clemson, Florida. They can't get one of those done, but they look okay, and they handle business in their other 8 games. They go 8-4. Right now, they're around 15. Could they hold a class at that level with that 12-game resume, or do you think that they would be probably more like top 20 instead of top 15 in terms of a final class?
I'd say a little bit behind the top 15 because it's hard to if you don't have something. There's got to be a moment in your season that you can point to and say, hey, we need something where there's a win in there that we show the growth. We kind of saw that kind of to rewind back to Jordan Travis's previous year before the 2013 one. They had that year before where they were 5-7. That doesn't sound great. It's not, but they had that one moment where they beat Miami when Jordan hit Andrew Parchment for the big 4th down pass. They ended up winning the game, beat Miami. They had a moment, and then that carried over to the rest of the next 2 years where they won 10 games, then they went 13-0. It just you have to have a moment where it's a signature moment where people can grasp onto. Yeah, I mean, I hate to just put it so bluntly, but they need to beat a rival.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to beat a rival, or they need to beat Alabama. I mean, it's that simple. I think to keep your standing and even take it up higher. Certainly, if you say they beat Alabama and Miami, now you got everything cooking. Where I think if you beat Alabama, I think the rest of the year is going to be cake as far as just the way recruits view your program.
Yep.
But that's going to be a one heck of a challenge to do that. But and even Miami is going to be, a big challenge. So it's a lot on the table. But at the same time, with the organization of this team, it's definitely plausible. I definitely see it. It's just I just don't know how all this stuff's going to mesh together.
Yeah.
That they have.
And that's what makes it all interesting, that you can flip your program just like that. Florida State had the whole state on lock until things fell apart last year. They were ahead of Miami, as much as Miami's NIL presence was huge. But Florida State was ahead perception-wise in terms of being legitimate. Could they flip it back the other way? I don't think it's a coin flip that they could win one of those two games, but I don't think it's a lotto ticket either. I don't think it's a long shot like a lotto ticket either. It would be massive if Florida State lands a huge upset, either against Alabama or Miami, or hey, why not both? If you are shooting for Florida State to be in the top 15, top 12, top 10, Michael Langston just told you right there, score the upset, because that's the only path to doing so, unless you've got truckloads of money that we don't know about right now. Now, all you need is not a truckload of money, but 100 pennies, 4 quarters, $1 bill. You can join us at warchant.com for 1 week. Take a look around, look at the Tribal Council, look at the Premium Recruiting Board, the land of Michael Langston's recruiting coverage, and also we'll bonus you an extra gift, a full year of access to The Athletic. This is for new customers only. Head over to warchant.com, sign up today. Now is the time. We are within 2 weeks of our kickoff against Alabama. This is going to get fun really, really fast.
Yeah.
Michael, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I'll throw this in because I don't want people to think there's a hanging Chad on there where I'm not gonna. I'll give you guys a bone. I do think they're going to win one of those two games between Miami and Alabama. I don't know which one because I know as much as you guys do as far as I know as much as anybody that's out there even with the team. Nobody knows kind of what exactly is going to come together, but I do believe based on the organization, the stuff I hear, I do think, and both of them are at home. I do think they'll win one of those games. That's kind of my bold prediction. If I'm going to make one, I think they'll win one of those.
Well, look, I know that the coaching staff would love for that to come true. I think we would too. It would be nice. It'd be nice. A lot of post-game shows I do, Michael, where we're not very happy. Let's have one happy post-game show and a big game in the first 5 weeks of the season. Michael, appreciate the time as always.
Anytime.